Good morning, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Welcome to Colby Memorial Temple and this morning's Lyceum, also known as Sunday School. You know, every time I do one of these, and I've spoken this every time I've done one of these, I spent a whole lot of time thinking about the topics. You know how it goes. Idea pops in, you force it, doesn't resonate. So now you're forcing it and you're morphing it, and then you kick it to the curb, and then the next one pops in. And it was just that kind of a week. Some of us were talking earlier. Anybody noticed some crazy energy around them? Are we oh so over it? Dickie Joe Mullen informed us that we have a supermoon coming up, and it's all in that mix. So I'm not taking anything seriously today. I entitled this day and my speech, Hodgepodge, because it's a hodgepodge of energy. Remember last May, I spoke, and I talked about 2022 being a sorting year. Well, in these last 2 weeks, I did truly jump on that crazy energy bandwagon and sorted the heck out of everything. Some things didn't need sorting, but I was on the bandwagon. Non-starter ideas, and they weren't bad, and so I just included them all, by the way. Now, anybody wonder what a hodgepodge is? It's a little bit of a regional thing. The dictionary calls a hodgepodge a confused mixture, and I think that's very fitting when talking about the human experience in general and how we can better evolve, embrace this life, and find joy where we can. I also find it especially reassuring in the confused mixture of energy that many of us have been experiencing. Feel free, as always, to just step in with questions. If I'm going down a path that doesn't resonate, just flag it, and we'll put some hodge in the podge of life. You know, as we spoke before, we're on a journey together, riding the waves of energy that will lead to the now evolving higher vibration. And let's talk about the tools we need to successfully navigate this new world. Free will. We have free will, and choice are actually two separate things. Was one of the first ideas to pop in my head this week. Now, some philosophers speak of free will as the supposed power or capacity of humans to make decisions or perform actions independently of any prior event or state of the universe. That's really a mouthful. But another source reports free will is a normal biological property, not a gift or mystery. And yet another says God created humans with free will, and we can be responsible for even evil by the exercise of our free will. Now, if God stopped us from doing little harms and hurts and some people evil, we would not be free and therefore unable to do good. So that's just backing into a contrast of natural law, the contrast, and evolving to be always looking towards the highest and best, not just for one, but for all, because we are moving towards the necessity of becoming one and realizing that everyone has their own fingerprint, their own value in everybody's life. Everybody has value of some sort. And judgment, using some of the tools that we fall into because of the human experience, the ego and all of that, it does not serve us well. So all of that, it's a lot to take in. So let's think about it for a minute. That's enough. As spiritualists, we believe in free will and choice, evidenced in the seventh principle, We affirm the moral responsibility of the individual and that he makes his own happiness or unhappiness as he obeys or disobeys nature's physical and spiritual laws. Contrast, good and evil. That's some potent contrast. Free will does not imply freedom of action. Freedom of choice is separate in its way. Choice, hear that. We choose. We have a situation, we have many tools, many ways to handle, to react, to absorb, to go with the flow, to flow upriver, swim upriver. We choose. And research, boy, it's a wonderful thing. Studies have shown that people who believe in free will are more likely to have positive outcomes. Puts it on you. You're aware that you have free will and choice. Puts it directly back on you. So when you're making your decisions, get out of your tool bag of thoughts and responses. You choose. Now, Science Direct states that the more strongly people believe in free will, the more they liked making choices, and the higher they rated their ability to make those decisions. Sometimes I have a hard time with this. Sometimes I can't decide what junk food I want to eat. It becomes that basic oftentimes. We have so many choices that we make daily. Obvious ones are what's for dinner, what am I wearing today, which book do I want to read first, and on and on and on. You get it, the basics. Now in daily life, in these changing, uncomfortable times, the many decisions loom large and can feel unfamiliar. We have some energies that we're not used to. We're all looking to go back to what we think is normal. Some of us are looking to go back to our childhood and start over, hit the reset. You can't do it. Actually, choices are big and small. And so we'll take a look at some of that, some that we face, and the emotions that often flavor our decisions. These are more fragments of ideas for the hodgepodge in a year of sorting. First, let's look at the idea of fate. One dictionary's definition of fate calls it the development of events beyond a person's control. Webster's dictionary states that fate is usually negative, and destiny is usually positive, and also out of your control. But even there, contrast. It's just contrast. What's control? We all want control of everything. Oh, and we also, and I've said this many times, we so love to be right. Being right and being in control, it just sounds like a princess dream. I'll talk about princesses in a minute. So, as you all know, I like to hold things up to the light and looking at it for a different view. Consider that before we bravely step back into the world of people for the human experience, and this is a partial quote from Lucy Cavendish, we know what challenges and wins will be coming our way. The downside of that part is we don't take all that knowledge with us. Or we lose perspective as we travel through the life and all the shoulds, coulds, and woulds. We just lose perspective. And that's just, it just throws us sometimes. To me, these life experiences are here to aid in the evolution of our soul. Fate and destiny are labels. We love our labels, and we do love our labels for behavior. And our egos struggle to make sense for our false self and our true self. False self, true self. It's two separate things. It's like, we should all be Geminis. So, our egos struggle to make sense for our false self, as I said. Our true self struggles to be heard, so we make a choice that is for the highest and best for ourselves and for others around us. So our true self is always in the struggle, looking for the true. So let's look now at another few possibilities. And I'm going to draw from my experiences here. I do that. Preparing for these Lyceum opportunities I found, boy, it provides me with an important introspection, and I just keep seeking further knowledge through these. And fair warning, there'll probably be some Darlene-isms involved. You never know what's going to happen. So let's go back to the emotional influences, because they're on steroids right now. And I'd like to talk about what I consider a useless emotion, jealousy. It rears its head. It just rears its head. But it really is useless in finding true self. Look at what you have, not what others have. All of those things, do unto others, all of those little pithy little statements. Well, when it rears its ugly little head, easy to know that, but harder to respond in an appropriate manner. Because 1,000,000 years ago, while I was in school, we did a children's play, and there were tryouts. All the girls wanted to be the princess. I was short, skinny, and had braces. Anyone else remember those awkward years? You know? I don't think mine especially passed. The girl who got the part was tall, blonde, and gorgeous. She even had bosoms. And she was my friend. And I got the part of the teddy bear, which was actually completely appropriate for me. And I spent that first week of rehearsals looking at the costumes that were coming out, being a little girl, and I was in a blue funk. Oh, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not good enough, I'm always going to be short. I'm standing up on a platform now, I don't look so short. And then I always arrive at, because with jealousy, you arrive at that. I think I even acted the tryout better. We just do that. I didn't, by the way. So I was in the throes of jealousy. It was not a good look. And what I did was cheat myself out of the joy the first week of rehearsals. I just cheated myself. I thank Spirit that I quickly woke up to the silliness of my very bad attitude. All the other girls were waking up from it too. I wasn't the only one that wanted to be the princess. And I took responsibility for my snitty behavior. And we had a ball. And I decided to do the best teddy bear I could, embraced my friend the princess, and it was on with the show. Well, life is a show. It's on with the show. And while it's a small and very old example, and I learned from it, and I shared it today, but up to this past week, I didn't realize I still had a little bit of that jealousy in there. It was weird. Well, that now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that wasn't exactly fair. Stop. After all this time. So I actually had an opportunity to hold that silly little memory up to the light, and that life lesson completed. It was important. It was important to me. So to me, jealousy is not only a useless, but it's a dangerous emotion as well. It leads to other things. It leads to gossip, painful, ugly gossip. It's often based on the fear that we don't measure up. Not measuring up as well as others, or that others have more of what we should have. Not even ever looking at what we do have, just looking around at others. See where I'm going with this? Useless, just useless. Now, has anyone here had nasty gossip about yourself circle around, be repeated back to you from a supposed friend? Take a harder look at that friend when she's sharing ugly gossip about you, or about anyone. Just be aware, just be more cognizant, because it can be hurtful. I call that throwing a spoon into the proverbial pot of poo and stirring it, because that's what you're doing. And at any rate, this has just happened, it happened to me personally just this past week, and it's a great opportunity to use free will to make better choices, certainly better choices than I did when I was a little kid in school. So first, I just learned that it's best for me to step back from those energies that don't serve for the highest and best. That doesn't mean that everybody will feel that energy from that person, but for me, I sort and I step back. Highest and best. It sounds just so good, and it's not always very easy to just arrive at, because everybody's view of highest and best can be very much different. It's a tricky path we're taking, the path to a higher vibration. Now, all of us make allowances for those whose choices are different from yours. Make allowances. Their life experience is completely different. And also, send healing energy to those who live in fear. Fear, because that takes me to another dangerous emotion, anger. On the hodgepodge of today's lecture. Anger, fear often turns to anger because you're afraid. You don't want to look at all of the things that have just happened. You have a loss of a loved one. I had a husband that died. I was mad at him for years. One of my girlfriends said, well, what did he do lately? He's just laying there. I said, that's the point. I'm not just laying there. I'm twitching. You know? Again, anger can be exhibited for the crazy things. Anger towards someone who has died, that was fear that I couldn't handle it alone. You know, I had a child. We have these things. So it just translates into things that you don't expect or certainly need. And anger, this one makes me uncomfortable. I don't like to be around anger. Anybody? I'm sure I'm not the only one. You know, when you see somebody who's just from 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, and you're stepping back. I can't step too back far because I have a platform in order that I be tall. It is fear-generated emotion to me, oftentimes. Not every time, but oftentimes. And it also can be an emotion, anger, that then generates fear. You get anger, and then you're afraid of, oh, wow, what did I just say? Oh, can't take that back. It's also convoluted, and in the energies today, again, I know I'm hitting on it often because, you know, we're all right. We'll be all right. This is the normalcy of a life experience. It's our new normal. And out of control anger can cause one to commit evil acts. You know, a label, evil, but it feels that way, and it fosters aggressive behaviors. Sometimes it simply starts with the need to be right, and then it blooms from there. As a side note, let's recognize, because mental illness, you know, that's all bets are off. That is a very sad thing, and it can cause some of these behaviors, and that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. Just be aware that some people have a little bit more going on than what you see on the surface, and your perception. Again, that's your fingerprint. It's not somebody else's, perception. I'm talking about when someone's words or actions cause another to flare up and become aggressive and responsive to their actions. Sometimes these words are spoken behind another's back, and that's where gossip becomes a tool of an angry person. Now, here comes a Darlene Mary tale of misdirected anger. I have an uneasy relationship with a family member who comes from a position of edgy anger and has always been just combative to me. That's okay. Not everybody gets along. But I responded in kind, and that's not okay. So I think she's twisting the past and suiting her reality. It's painful for us both. It's not just her. I pushed every button I could sometimes. So reacting in kind is a futile response, certainly on my part. And I finally wised up and engaged free will and my choice to step back and away. So there were no opportunities for future engagement, as it served neither of us on a path evolving for the highest and best. So let's throw anger management into a hodgepodge. One researched suggestion provides 4 very pat examples. First, utilize focused breathing. Humans are shallow breathers, and full breathing and cleansing. The second one is use imagery, visualize a relaxing experience. The third one is engage in progressive muscle relaxation. Now, doesn't this sound a whole lot like meditation? Because it is. Those are the steps to get into a meditative stage as well. And up to this point, we recognize the meditation, and the final suggestion was to improve your communication skills. Well, that's another whole topic in itself that we're just not going there. Sometimes I'm an over-communicator, I've been told. I'm a talker. If I'm walking, I'm talking. The same source that promotes logic as anger can become irrational. And that is irrational anger. And we've all seen it rear its head. And my example using logic was like spitting in the wind and did little to resolve underlying conflict because part of that was mine. I had to own it. Take responsibility for your actions. Another's view in reality may be completely different, drawn from a different reality from your own. At any rate, we've all known loved ones, friends, co-workers who rise quickly to anger over perceived slights, petty jealousies, gossip, mongering, egotistical actions, twisted truths. That list goes on and on. So does the list of joyous events. Events in your life that touch your heart. People that you meet on the street, wherever you meet. Oh, that rhymes. I just made that part up. I'm ad-libbing. That they resonate with you, and you take joy and you take comfort from knowing that there's more of a kindred soul. It's, again, natural law. It just whirls and it swirls. Diane Davis is going to be our lecturer today. She does an amazing job with natural law, and I've been privileged to sit in on many of her classes. And there are always ways to relieve that wasted energy through counseling and spiritual guidance. Now, our very own Eileen Ballantyne has a workshop series to aid with anger management. Anything that you wish to share, Eileen?
Well, my workshop is Please Don't Push My Buttons. My dad was a rageaholic, and so when my daughter was 2 years old, I decided that rage could not be an option because I saw the fear in her that I felt in me. So that was 33 years ago. So I teach people. The problem is that when we are angry, we're reacting as children, and we were powerless as children. So I teach people how to get in touch with when they first start to feel in their body a teeny tinge of stress or resistance or anger, and to stop there through an exercise that I do so it doesn't ever get to that place. So I can tell you that in 33 years I've never, ever, ever lost my temper. I've gotten angry, but it's always been a choice. And I've always dealt with and cleaned up my mess that I've made. So, yeah, I think that for us to become emotionally mature as a race, I think we need to deal with the anger issue we have with guns and violence and everything.
All of that. Thank you. I'll be signing up. On to more hodgepodge. Many of you have heard me speak of caregiving and the toll that it takes on caregivers. You know, some people aren't good at asking for help because they are used to being the helper and have experienced an unbalanced give and take. Balance, again. Self-reliance is all they have known, and often they feel alone. Now remember, none of us are alone. Easy to say here in Lyceum. Easy to know it, sometimes not so easy to feel. Sometimes we just feel alone. If you need help, have the courage to ask for it. Courage to ask for help. It sometimes is for people who are not used to that. Give someone the gift of trust and allow them to take joy in being involved in your life and helping you. Just take that joy. Here's one I really enjoy. This is truly a hodgepodge. Learn to deal with people for who they are, not what you want them to be. That's worth saying again. Learn to deal with people who as they are and not what you want them to be. Dealing with people who they are, not who they are, not who you want them to be. Each one of us still remains valuable, just the way we are. I say it ad nauseum. Somebody will tell me one day, oh, will you get a new one? No, it's Darleneism. I like it. And yet another one. Here's another little hodgepodge. Be accountable for how you think and behave. Self-love without self-awareness is useless. And that just leads right away into commitment and responsibilities. Judy and I were talking about responsibilities the other day and commitment, and sometimes you say you're going to do something, then you don't want to follow through. Then you make the effort and you go and you do it, and you're like, boy, am I glad I did that. It's amazing how this little mind works, just messing with us. If you commit to someone or something, be responsible to follow it through. It just is the end result, just makes us all individually feel so good. Completing a task or event will bring you satisfaction and joy. Now, we touched on free will earlier. Consider this. Fate brings opportunities, and free will determines whether or not you take them. So fate will bring you all kinds of possibilities. Destiny, that's a little bit nebulous for me, another day. But fate is the potential possibilities of your life, and they roll in, and they're new, and we're hardwired to resist change. You know how we do. So you resist them, and there's an old joke, man sitting up on a river, on a roof, and the river's rising, and he's praying to his God, God help me, and a couple guys come by in a lifeboat, and he says, no, that's okay, God's going to fix this. And he sits there a little bit longer, and it still rains, and the bigger boat comes. Let us help you. No, God is healing my way. Helicopter comes, guy's still sitting on the roof. There's some possibilities. And when I heard that joke years ago, I thought, that's no joke. That's what people do. I'll be better when this happens. I'll be much better when that happens. It just goes on, and not especially a good look for any of us. Does anybody have any events or things that have happened to them that they would like to share? No. Going once, going twice.
Darlene?
Yes?
Not an event, but it sounds, one, I like the phrase, give them the gift of trust. Because initially my first thought was, that's control. And then it's like, you think about it, whose control is it? Is it your control, or is it that you're afraid to give control over yourself to someone else? And it's not even that. It's just detachment from the result. And just trusting that individual will do it to both your and their highest and best.
Highest and best. Yeah.
I was like, I like that, the gift of trust. But it got me thinking, like, I'm prepared for that, right?
Well, it just is. Coquette was talking about, for those that couldn't hear online, hello, give the gift of trust. That doesn't mean you're giving people control.
Right.
It just means that you're reaching out and asking for help and giving the gift. And when they come back and they help you and it works, what a gift for all. For the person who needs, for the person who extended a hand, a helping hand. I think we all need them. Judy, you have something?
Because you can always substitute the word love in the place of trust.
Ah.
Because that's actually what you're giving to that person. Because you trust them, giving them the gift of love, which will come back to you.
Judy just said, giving the gift of love. is the way she sees a gift of trust. And that is, thank you very much, Judy. That's very appropriate. Yes? Giving trust cannot come back to hurt you? Can it? Or was that a... Well, go ahead, Judy.
Well, trust, when you give love or trust, you're putting yourself in a position of learning. And when you put yourself in a position of learning, there goes back to what you said earlier, you have a choice. You take it and say, okay, I'm going to suffer through this, or take it, I'm going to learn through this and grow through it. So it's not a negative thing when somebody basically you feel is not giving that trust back to you. It's a learning opportunity to sort of see a mirror where you need to grow from.
Okay. And to the question, does it sometimes, giving the gift of trust, does it come back? Judy pointed out that comes into free will and choice, and it's a learning experience. When you translate giving trust as to giving love, and you're reaching out to someone, if that doesn't work out and they don't reach back, that's a learning experience. It's life, and it's a learning experience. And now you know. So you just take it from there. Marie?
So what I like to do is when I have someone in front of me and I'm not sure what they're saying, I'm not agreeing with what they're saying, I always do this one prayer. It's a Hawaiian prayer, and it goes, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. And I love you goes back to me. So I'm aware that I'm still doing good. But if you learn how to say that, when I'm cleaning the buildings, some people will call this type of thing, it's cleaning all the time. And it heals me and it helps me. That's what I use all the time. And I'm hoping that the bookstore has that Ho'oponopono prayer in it, because it's really, to me, I've used it for many years, otherwise I would not have talked about it. But it works for me.
Will you say the prayer again, please?
The Ho'oponopono prayer.
Yes. And it goes,
It's Hawaiian.
forgive me,
It's like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Please forgive me. Thank you. It's just for me. And I love you. The last one is I love you.
Okay. Marie pointed out the use of the Ho'oponopono prayer. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. So, when you're reaching and you're asking and you're, controlling, you're giving someone the ability to help you or not help you, you're trusting, you're loving them, you're you really wish you'd have a certain reaction. If it isn't that, I love you too, and of course I'll help, and that free passing of and resonation of a relationship and a love well earned, deserved, whatever way you want to just label that. If it doesn't go that way and that trust is not accepted, the love is not as accepted, step back. You've learned. That does not make that person less, by the way. It makes them a different person than you thought they were, possibly. But it just makes them an energy that possibly you won't ask for help again. That doesn't mean that you'll never ask for help again. Free will and choice. That does not mean that now you take that and you get reactive. Someone's not following through in the manner that you had hoped and you ask them to, one of your hardest things to do. Don't have a knee-jerk reaction yourself to that and think, I knew I should never ask for help. That never works out. That never works out. Well, it was probably the first dang time you asked for help. And possibly you asked for that help from someone who just wasn't in a place on that day to give it back. And at another time, down the road, that person may say, and come back and say, I didn't help you, or I wish I would, or, boy, I was having a bad day it was just a bad day. Give people room and latitude. That judgment that we tend to do, that, how we are, the labeling that we do, because truly, endless possibilities exist for each of us. Endless possibilities throughout the human experience. Possibilities. So many people I'm looking, and I just see love right here. I could ask for help from any one of you. In fact, I did. I said, oh, dear God, somebody please ask a question. Well, you responded in kind. There was a time I don't do good with asking for help myself. I'll be the first one standing up saying, yeah, I will. And sometimes I shouldn't because I'm tired. So, never forget that you choose. Seems like we're never done learning or evolving in the here or hereafter. We are never done learning. Endless possibilities. You, because remember, finally, just remember, you are the light that you are seeking. Find your light and let it shine. Let it shine out there. Be the light. Be love. Because here it comes. We're valuable just the way we are. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions before we close out? We have a few minutes. Any other? Yes, Eileen?
I have a comment when you said about the trusting thing. Like you had said, we want to be right.
Yeah.
So, like if as a child we decide that people are not trustworthy, we want to be right. So we're really going to pick untrustworthy people to put our trust in because somehow we'd rather be right than happy. So I know that for a long time tonight you go, oh, I wanted to be right. I purposely picked someone who I know is always going to show up an hour late. Just to prove
you're right.
I knew she was going to let me down. So when I switched that around to just not being attached to the results, like I'm going to ask you to do this, and she doesn't, okay, then I know that that's not an option next time.
Okay. Eileen just pointed out that in our need to be right, sometimes when we're reaching out and asking someone to help and extending trust and love, we pick someone who we know is going to react in a manner that makes us right. Yes. Yes, we are here always learning. I mean, it just never, it doesn't end. It shouldn't end. It won't end in the next lifetime. It won't end in the next time, lifetime after that. We're evolving continually, getting to that higher vibration, getting closer to the realization that we are one. So the highest and best for you is really the highest and best for all. We'll get there. I might not see it in this lifetime. Yes?
I would just like to thank you for this topic because my goal for this recent period is dealing with I don't have to be right.
Perfect.
So bringing up this discussion is really kind of why I come to Lyceum. Usually it puts everything I've been thinking of together, and you've done an excellent job.
Well, thank you, Susan. Thank you. Susan's saying that, that wanting to be right, she personally has been working on that. We all do like that. Isn't it better to be right? Well, it would be better if you really were. Anybody else? All right. Thank you all so much and have a very wonderful week. Not one of being right, being joyful. Thank you.